Greetings, everyone. I'm Joey, and this is my YouTube channel. Welcome to what will be the final part of this conversation I had with John. We will have another one soon for you, I'm sure. First of all, I'll say that I had some misconceptions and some misunderstandings about my own Wing Chun. If you'd asked me, Joey, are you a good fighter? I'd say, well, a lot of my friends have seen me do that. If you said, Joey, are you good at Wing Chun? I would have said, I don't know, man. In terms of my first teacher, Robert Simeone, I'm trying to find out anything I can find from anybody in Wing Chun in the world, anything you might know about this man. He's an enigma and he's mysterious. He used to teach in Toronto, Ontario, when he was younger. So I would say 80s into the 90s. Moved to the West Limmacoon area, north of Madoc, raised goats. He was born in Austria near the Italian border. He had a very thick accent. I know he spent quite a bit of time in England. He really had great love for England. So I'm just trying to find out anybody who might have had contact with this guy can share anything you might know about him with me. And as well, if anybody back home, like maybe you, Adam Spatola, because you are interested in Jeet Kune Do, for example, if you feel like taking a drive up to the Gilmore area and looking for Robert Simeone, finding anything you can find, get me a phone number, get me some contact. It's been 7 years since I've been home, and it's been 7 years before that since I was home and was able to get up and see Robert. So it's been a long time. I would love to just know he's okay and how he's doing, and think the world of him still. I realized as I got older and older that his Wing Chun instruction was very fucking good. And it was like magic that it came to me. And maybe I feel sort of that way about John too. Totally moved every time I think about him even. So thank you, John. Here's our last conversation. It's not your system or your style that makes you good.
It's not about the style. It's not, boxers have a hard time against Wing Chun people. No. It's not, Tai Chi people have a hard time against Wing Chun people. Hung Gar people have a hard time against Wing Chun people. No. Typically, Wing Chun, at least the way it's taught, faces you face on. You're taught to Do Ying. What's Do Ying mean? It means you face on your opponent. Whether they're side to you or not, you're facing them. Okay? Whereas boxers don't fight like this. Mike Tyson did a little bit more than most other boxers, but most boxers, they have a lead hand, don't they? Yeah. They have a lead foot. They have a lead hand and a lead foot. Okay. Bruce Lee had a lead hand and a lead foot, but most Wing Chun people do not. They face you. Okay. And they want to stay facing you like that. If you ask me, okay, I think people should be free to move in any particular way, whether it's a one leg forward or not, whether it's facing or not. Freedom of movement means freedom of movement. Everything is in play all the time. How else can I get my weight behind everything? So, when you or anyone else talks about the advantages of Wing Chun, means shit to me, okay? And I know nothing other than Wing Chun. And the only thing I teach is Wing Chun. And I have nothing against Wing Chun. but it still means shit to me when people talk like that. Because fighting is fighting, okay? It's not about the style. Fighting is how you use your body. I say it over and over and over again. How you bring your body's weight to bear. And it's about nothing other than that. And of course, that is absolutely not true, because what it's really about at the end of the day, because that's going to be determinative of how you bring your body's weight to bear, is about your mind. What's in the mind? Does it come out through the body or not? Or to put it more accurately, whatever's truly in the mind is going to come out through the body. So if I'm afraid, then I'm going to freeze up. That's how my body's going to respond. Or when I go to hit you, I don't commit my body weight because I'm afraid of getting hit myself, which is pretty typical, isn't it? Okay. You see people in fights all the time. They fight like this, right? They're backing up as they're hitting because what's in the mind is they don't want to get hurt at the same time they're trying to hurt you. They're not fully committed to the attack. So what really is determinative is what's in the mind. So if you trained your mind to transcend, there'll be nothing in the mind. And then the body's free to move. Theory is just that, theory. And you can apply any theory you want. Every martial art has theory behind what they're doing, behind their techniques, behind their forms, behind their drills, behind their practice methodology. Every martial art has theory behind it. And there's no such thing, in my opinion, as one theory is better than someone else's theory. Yeah, everybody thinks they have the best theory. So the Wing Chun world is, 999 Wing Chun practitioners out of 1,000 are going to say, yeah, a Wing Chun theory is superior to other theory because of A, B, and C. And that's what they learn and that's what they teach. To me, that's total bullshit. It's not that their theory is better. It's who's better at using their body in certain ways when they try to perform their theories, if you will. The theory behind Wing Chun is not the same as the theory behind Hungar or the theory behind Pak Mei, okay? Or Baiji. You heard of Baiji Quan? Baiji
Yes,
Quan.
I have.
Fucking Baiji Quan is brutal fucking stuff, man, okay? Every single motion is like being hit with a windmill. Boom!
Yeah.
Like you're holding a sledgehammer and you use your whole body to whack me in the head with it. That's Baiji Quan, okay? These guys used to be guards for royalty. Royal guards in China were trained Baiji Quan people, traditionally. You watch somebody like that who's got a good enough skill level move, you want nothing to do with this people, okay? Just stay the fuck away from me, man. Am I going to do my tanda against that? No. As soon as you touch me, you're going to break my fucking arm. So, there are plenty of styles whose theories are really great, but it's always still going to come down to, do they have the power? Do they have the speed? Do they have the mind for it? Without exception, it's got nothing to do with the style. It's got to do with speed, power, and mental out approach. That's fighting. It has nothing to do with anything but that. No matter what methodology you've trained in or practiced. I like Wing Chun because it's what I learned in the beginning, and I don't know anything else, and I'm fucking lazy. Okay? So I don't want to take the time and trouble to learn some different system and start over from scratch, okay? But by the same token, I don't really care that much about my Wing Chun anymore. Or let me put it this way. My Wing Chun is all about what we've been talking about. Mind-body connection, being whole, moving at speed. That's it. I don't care what motion I make. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care if it conforms to movements in a particular form or technique. I don't care about any of that. Wing Chun to me is about those underlying body and mind principles we've been talking about all along. And that's what it's about. And that's why when I teach Wing Chun, I teach what we've been sharing together. Yes, I'll teach it in the context of the Wing Chun system because that's all I know. And that's what people learn. And they come to me because they want to learn Wing Chun. But what I'm really teaching is the good Kung Fu, just as expressed through the Wing Chun system. That's what I think I'm doing. So when you come to me and spend a 3-hour private lesson, which is how I teach people, I talk about the things we've been doing and talking about. And I help people to arrange their bodies in these ways and to be relaxed and open and connected and to move as one unit and to develop speed in doing that and to try to transcend the tension that naturally occurs when we're using our mind and bodies in other ways. And I help them to do that in individual examples, movement against resistance. And I help them to do it in other examples of form work against resistance. And I help them to do it in the context of Chisao when they're ready for that. And I help them to do it in the more in the context of free movement, sparring. This is what I do. This is my teaching. But it all comes back to what we've been talking about. Not necessarily about Wing Chun theory or, how to comply with that. If we want to be honest, and I think it's only self-harmful when we're to the degree to which we're not honest. If we want to be honest, the answer is always going to be the same. How good we are, whether it's you, me, or anyone else, is the only test for it is to put it to the test. And how well can you make work what you do against more significant challenges? So if you want to know how good you are, you got to stand up in front of a Muay Thai guy who's got some skill level and see how well you can do. If you want to know how good you are, you got to stand up in front of a boxer who has some level of skill and see how effective you are in terms of defending yourself and damaging them. And the same is true for anybody. If anybody wants to test how good they are, they have to test it against other people who are not cooperating, who are applying legitimate pressure, who are doing whatever it is they are doing. And that is the only way to know. And at the end of the day, as just stating the obvious, there's always people better than we are, and there's always people worse than we are. So how good you are is always going to be a function of comparison and perspective. And there's always going to be an amount you can improve and an amount other people are improving too. But I would say that in a general speaking, the answer to how good any of us are is going to be determined by those factors we've been discussing all along. How well you can make yourself whole and connected and move as one piece at speed consistently. That's going to be the sole determining factor as to how good you are, not how good your Wing Chun is versus somebody else's methodology, but just how good you are using your own mind and body is what it's going to come down to. I used to play tennis. I wasn't somebody who did a lot of different sports. And also I was the kind of kid that liked solo activities. I wasn't really much of a joiner. So when I was like 10 or 11, I started playing tennis. I was left-handed and I never took lessons because I never took lessons at anything because I was real stubborn and I didn't like people telling me what to do. And so because of that, of course, I never could get as good as someone who might take lessons because I would shut off that potential because I wasn't willing to learn from some teacher. But that's simply the truth of the matter. So anyway, I was a tennis player. And starting in 7th grade, I went out for the tennis team. And I was on the tennis team. And I was okay. Not great. I was just beginning. I was in 7th grade. I was 12 years old because I was young for my grade. That summer, I liked tennis. So I played every day. But what that consisted of was I went and hit against a brick wall every day. I didn't have anybody to play tennis with. So, but I would go out every day for like 2 hours because for me it was fun and I enjoyed it. And I would hit a tennis ball against a brick wall over and over and over again. The next year, when it came time to playing tennis again, now I'm in the 8th grade, all of a sudden people are telling me, wow, you got good. I had no idea, okay, at all that I had improved. But my fellow players are telling me, yeah, you got a lot better. And I was higher up in the team all of a sudden on the team. So that was great. Next year, same thing. Same fucking thing. Okay. And every year I would get better because I would practice. I practiced a lot because I liked it. Okay. I had no fucking discipline, and I still have no fucking discipline in anything I've ever done in my life. Okay. That's a sad truth, but it is true. I get good at something because I like doing it, and it's not a chore for me. It doesn't require discipline for me to do it. Okay. I'm not bragging about it. It's not a good thing, but that's the truth. So
I'm left-handed. I get it.
I kept improving. When I was in high school, I went out for the tennis team. My high school was 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. And I played on the team, and I was pretty good. And the team was good. Okay. In fact, my senior year, I was on the team again. And we won the state championships in Massachusetts. We were the best public high school team in the state. And so we had people that were really good tennis players. And I knew how to play tennis. I was good. If you were to watch me play a match, you go, well, that guy's pretty good. Then after my senior year, I graduated high school. I decided I would try to teach tennis for a job, like for that summer before I went to college, because it beat the hell out of working in restaurants and what the fuck, right? So I would put up signs around town at local public tennis courts offering lessons. And sometimes people would sign up or call me up and I would teach some lessons. Well, I was doing that. And one day I called up this guy I knew who had been number one on our tennis team, which meant he was a lot better than I was. Okay. He was the best on our team, and our team won the championship. So I call him up. I want to know, hey, you want to play some tennis? He goes, okay. So we get together. We start playing tennis. Now, he was still better than I was, but I was doing great. I was so much better than when I had been a few months earlier on the tennis team. I was so much better. And I had no idea why. And it took me quite a while to realize, this is why I'm telling you this, that the reason I was so much better that day is because my body was hitting the tennis ball, not my arm. Even though I had gotten good enough at using my arm to make certain strokes, to play really well, all of a sudden, without my even knowing it, without my trying to do it, without my even being aware of it, my center was hitting the ball. My center, my body as a whole was swinging the racket. Every shot came from my center, or my body as a whole, if you will. And it seemed to me like I was making no effort. My shots had great power and accuracy, and it felt like I wasn't even doing anything. It was just boom, boom, effortless. And I don't know why on that particular day that happened, but it did. And I didn't even know it. And it's not like I could repeat it the next day because I didn't even know what had happened. And it took me years to figure out. I didn't even know until years later that that's what had happened. And now when I look at everything we're talking about Kung Fu and the martial arts, I look back because I remember that experience. And I remember it physically too. And I realized that's what had happened. Somehow my mind connected to my body, so my body moved in that way. And all of a sudden, for that day, I was much better tennis player. And then I could never repeat it again because I had no clue what was going on. I lost that connection. And I didn't even know I had one. So how can I get it back?
And you keep trying to get it back, so you can't.
I never tried because by the time I realized it, I didn't play tennis anymore. I was in college. I was getting high. I was doing other things. Okay. I was doing my artwork. I was doing other things. And so I didn't play tennis anymore. And I never played tennis seriously again my whole life. When I was a lawyer, I joined a tennis club and I played for a year or two, some local league. And I pretty much sucked because I was okay, but I wasn't good because tennis itself had changed by then, because the equipment had changed. And I mean, I grew up playing on wooden rackets, and
Yeah, I know.
and nobody had topspin
My
shots.
first shot, my first composite hockey stick, I was like, whoa, what did I just do?
Yeah,
Growing up playing on wooden sticks, right?
yeah. When I got older, people had different rackets, and they had all had topspin shots, both forehand and backhand. And I didn't know how to do any of that because I'd never learned that. My shots were all flat strokes. When I was growing up as a child, watching tennis pros in the 60s and 70s, and I would go to a tennis tournament in Longwood Cricket Club outside of Boston, Mass, every summer. And I would watch people like Rod Laver play and John Newcomb and Tony Roach, the best people in the world, okay? And I would get to see them up close in person play matches. And they all hit flat strokes for the most part. That's how I learned how to play, by copying other people like that. And everything was different later on, and I didn't know how to do it. So if I were to take up tennis again now, I would learn how to hit topspin strokes on both sides, because that's how to play. That's the difference between players now and the players of my day. And the players now are so much better than the players of my day because everything is different.
It's the same with hockey. It much is.
Yeah.
I go skating with these guys that have they've been using these composite sticks their whole lives, and the shots they can take and the things they can do, and I'm still just trying to wrap my head around the fact I can bend the stick when I shoot. It's like
Amazing.
like,
Yeah,
wow,
amazing.
did you see that? That
Yeah,
really went.
for sure.
I
Wow,
can't wait.
we've been talking since 10:30. 4 hours? Oops.
Yeah, that's
Oops.
okay. It was a good talk. Next year,
Yeah.
they're going to build one block from my house a covered hockey rink, and the logs are all.
Oh,
So they've
wow.
torn down the old rink, and it's going to have to wait 1 year. We're going to have to spend going out to the lake and skating on the lake with the kids. But next year, I can walk
are there
one
local
block
teams?
from the house.
Are there local
No, it's
teams?
just our small town here, right? How it used to be when the old rink was functional is we'd be in the bar. You know, I don't drink anymore, but a bunch of us would be in the bar at midnight and be like, "Hey, let's get some off sales and go skating." Yeah,
Oh my God.
and
Wow.
go to the ice, and they got the electronic switch there. You could turn the lights on, and
Cool.
yeah, that's how to play, right? Just whenever, no rules.
When I was a kid, like 11, 12, 13, I had a pair of like figure skates, not hockey skates. And sometimes we'd go outside, in somebody's yard, and they'd run the hose and freeze it over, or we'd go somewhere and we'd try to we get some hockey sticks and pucks, and we'd try to, play around with it, and I thought that was a lot of fun. But none of us ever learned how to do anything properly,
Like all things, hockey's kung fu too. So
Well, I
much
just think none of us, we couldn't learn how to skate properly, and let alone how to manipulate, the hockey equipment the way you're supposed to do it. And look, it's a skill like any other sport. You got to put the effort in, and you got to, know how to do it the proper way. There's no substitute for the proper way,
But I came along in my kung fu, and then go play hockey, and then be someone who's faster and a better player. But the game of angles suddenly had this whole new light in my mind of where to be and how to be in the way, right? And so I found myself able to, for just a little application of kung fu theory into my hockey, be in the ass of people who are substantially better hockey players than me, right? And I found, if I'm, 3 inches this way, that guy is by me, right? So much of that center line theory had to come into playing
Right.
defensive hockey,
I see.
So like all things, kung fu is all things. And when
Yeah.
I watch a hockey game now, I see kung fu playing out. I see the games of angles, and I can usually I can tell when I'm watching a game when someone's about to get scored on, because I see a guy get a couple inches out of place, and the opening opens up, and it's such a marvelous game that way. It's a beautiful game, fluid.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Well, it has been 4 hours, John. I guess now
Yeah.
we're pushing towards
If
11 o'clock my time.
you decide, and this is entirely your call, if you decide once again to make some sort of video or videos based on today's discussions, you're welcome to do so. As far as I'm concerned, I presume that if you do that, you're probably going to edit a lot of this shit out, because 4 hours is too long, and a lot of this has probably been overly redundant. But I trust you, and as I've told you before, I think you did a really good job of editing our last discussions, and I like what you've done. And I also appreciate the fact that maybe there are more people now that will know about me and want to share than there were before, because I hadn't put a video on YouTube in I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years,
It's been a while.
8. Yeah, it's been a long time. So anyway, you do what you want, as always. And I'm sure that if you do that, you'll end up sending it to me like you did last time. So I'll be able to see it.
Absolutely, yes. And
Okay.
I think it's we're writing the stories, right? It's it's good to get it's good to get this stuff down. It's good for there to be record more than just a 3-minute video of what John Kaufman really thinks.
Okay.
And that's sort of like in my own YouTube channel, how I felt. It's well, I don't even know if people are going to watch it that much, but if something happens to you, my kids will be able to watch that.
Well, for sure. Yeah.
So I'm creating a record of who I am and what I was doing and what we were about, and the
Plus,
same
don't
for you.
forget-
I think it's really important to keep that, to get that record.
I agree. I agree with you completely. And the fact is, as I've said, look, I don't market myself, and I don't make any effort to track people to me. And that's just a personal decision. I don't have a problem with other people doing it. There's nothing wrong with it. I just don't bother. Okay. Probably because I've never had to support myself by teaching martial arts. Okay. In any event, the fact is, though, it doesn't change the fact that I am a martial art teacher, and I do offer these services to the public at large, both locally in Hong Kong and around the world. Because I do that, because I am a Wing Chun teacher, I think it makes perfect sense to put myself out there, at least more than I have, and let people know that I exist, and let them evaluate for themselves what I have to offer. And then people can determine whether they want to contact me for whatever purpose or not. And so in that regard, what you're doing is very helpful to me, and I'm greatly appreciative of it.
Well, it's helpful to me because now I have to imagine how am I going to get to Hong Kong someday? It's growing in my heart more and more. And I was talking to Andy Mason, we should go to Hong Kong together someday, buddy. And talk about,
I know you're not a city person. I know you're not a city person, but I think
it would blow my mind. Honestly, I'd be like, "Holy fuck!"
You got some
it would
good
be so
guides.
overwhelming.
You get some good tour guides here too, because my wife and I can take you around and show you a good time. And plus, you'd get a lot out of working with me. I know you would. But also, of course, I'd bring you to Sifu Ma's school, and you can meet him and meet his students and touch hands with people. They're all very welcoming people. I know a lot of people in this world in Hong Kong. You know who Wang Shenglong was?
Yeah.
Well, his son is a friend of mine, and his son teaches in Wing Chun in Hong Kong at the VTAA. So I brought friends and students to meet him just because he's Wang Shenglong's son, and to see his class. He used to rent space from me when I had a school in an independent location. He used to rent my school on Saturdays to have a place to teach outside of the VTAA. So that's
Well,
how
my
I
first
got to know him.
teacher had a certain amount of training from Wang Sheng Long, right? So
From
that's
him
extremely
personally,
interesting.
or one of his students.
I'm not exactly sure at this point, right?
Okay.
But that's one of the things that I know Robert had said,
Okay.
that was one of the people that, one of the traditions he came from. And he was very much from Ip Man School, right? And when I
Yeah.
first seen Chu Shan Tin's videos maybe 15 years ago or something like that or more, I said, oh, look, that's the Siloam Tao I know. So,
Right.
and then when I think about all the things that Robert said, and some of it just sounds like things you say, sometimes I question, where did he get that from? Like, because I don't hear this stuff anywhere else, right?
Okay.
Not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I could have. Robert's not alive anymore, right?
I believe he still is, and he'd be very, very old. And if I can get myself to Ontario, I'm definitely going to go up north of Mom's house and track him down. I haven't been home for.
I wish someday. I wish someday.
Years.
I wish someday I could meet him. It's too bad. It probably never happened, though. We're so far away from each other.
When you have an old man that's like he's not on Facebook or nothing.
Right.
He's milking goats if he's doing anything. Literally.
Everybody's getting old, man. I mean, look, I'm 69 now. Marty's like
happy
70.
Birthday.
Thank you. Marty's like 72. Everybody's getting old. Not you so much. You still got plenty of time.
Yeah, 43. I still feel pretty good. I won't lie.
All right, Joey. Very good to talk to you once again. Stay in touch.
Maybe you're not a fucking guru, but you're one of mine, so that's just how it is.
Yeah,
I don't respect a lot of people that way.
Until you run into somebody. Until you run into somebody else.
Just accept my respect.
I do, and I appreciate it very much. Believe me. Thank you.
Yeah, good. You take care, John. Love you, buddy.
You too.
Have a good week.
All right.
All right.
Take care. Bye-bye.